No worries. I'm in the middle of America in Kansas City, Missouri, so it's great to meet you. And I like to begin our conversation with looking at the calendar right now. We're in March of 2024. There's probably a lot of PTSD because in 2020 everything shut down. How did you survive that time period, and how did it change you?
Um, where I was about 800 miles from where I am now, north of here, and we got through it. It seemed to be easier to get through that than the post after it completed. Actually, it was like you seemed to get the rhythm and you did it, and we weren't locked down a lot, so we were able to uh work move within our suburb. And but I had to change my I'd been using Zoom quite a bit up until that stage in my business, but after that, once Zoom, you're in there, you had to do Zoom anyway. And because my clients were national here in Australia and also some offshore, it was a lot easier to do it then. But afterwards, you it was you had to find a different way. Sales have changed. Selling has changed. Meeting people has changed because of COVID. They're going out. You got the online networks. There's still coming back. The face to face. We've seemed to have become more attuned to how we are. Being online, and I still find, even for myself, I have to make time to go out, and I've found that the inefficiency of going out uh, is is a psychological thing you got to get over. You
Yeah.
got to meet people face to face.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the irony of the time is that all of us were connected by these digital devices, but we all missed each other in that face-to-face component, you
That's
know?
right. It, you just don't get that water cooler effect. I call it the water cooler effect.
Yeah.
That exchange of ideas, and I laugh. I say that I've got a small mind and I need to expand it with a whiteboard
Yeah.
when I'm with meetings. And that is one that I find I miss and missed during COVID, was the ability to get a whiteboard and expand ideas quickly. And that often changes what happens in the meeting, that changes the dynamics, because you get an idea and you're able to explore it. It's a lot harder to do that on Zoom
Yeah.
and things like that. And those personal connections, it takes longer to build up that connection with the person.
Yeah. Certainly does. So let me ask you this. It's very clear on paper what you do, but I want to know if I put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day and one of the kids was curious and said, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I would show them a set of cards and say, I understand people and I understand their personalities. I find out what their personalities are, and that way I can communicate effectively, and I can help people, my clients, communicate effectively to their customers, their business contacts, their markets, their employees, their suppliers, and importantly, their families. A lot of people forget about they got to communicate in business with their families. And by understanding personalities, I and helping them understand the personalities of the people they're talking to quickly, then I can do that.
So let's go back to when you were in the third grade. What did you want to be when you grew up?
The traditional things, but I was always curious about. I always wanted to find out more, and it wasn't until a few years ago that I understood why. I liked the knowledge and finding out what made it tick. I don't go right down into the detail. My eyes glaze over, but I was exploring. So I wanted to be a pilot, really. I got partway there, but I didn't quite make it to the Air Force. My maths wasn't quite so good for that.
Yeah. So how did you get here? Take me back to your childhood. How did these seeds of helping people and being in business and how did all of this grow into who you are today?
um, it was working in a rural community where I was. and that teaches you to, we call it down under, being able to use a bit of number 8 wire, and it's a thick bit of fencing wire,
Yeah.
and we seem to be able to make anything, fix anything with a bit of number 8 wire. You tie it up. So problem troubleshooting
Yeah.
was the way that we used to do it, and I've always been a troubleshooter. I always like to see a problem. I can, how do we fix that? How we can do this, and finding ways. And so during my corporate career, I developed that. I was and going that challenge of solving problems. There's a fire. There's something there. So I'd often get put in positions where I had to solve or make something, change something, a change area,
Yeah.
and that in 18 years of doing consulting, that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
You're working with businesses and you're trying to fix a problem, take advantage of an opportunity. How are you going to do that? What's the things you need to look at first? And that's what I that helped me through that number. Funny little bit of number 8 wire. You
Yeah.
you fix that thing, and often you're looking at that one small problem, and that's only a symptom of the real challenge or the opportunity, but it's finding it and working through it. So I love it. I love sort of saying, oh, there's something there.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. Who's been a hero for you, an inspiration for you in your life?
Oh, Tom, from a business point of view, Tom Peters was my hero.
Yeah.
I love the way he spoke and what he did. That certainly has come up from that point of view. And another business person, there was a chap called Frank Betcher, who's a sales guru back and he with Zig Ziglar and before that. And I've always read his book, it's one of my most read books, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Sales. And he always tells a story about um, he was in the Major League Baseball and he was trying to get there, and the coach called him in and said, "You drag yourself around like an old, player who's been around for years." And he's just like, "And I'm firing you because you got no enthusiasm." And he said, "I'm never gonna be fired for the lack of enthusiasm again." And he moved himself, and he changed his whole way of doing things, and so he used enthusiasm, and he tripled his income
Yeah.
in the next 12 months and got back into the Major League Baseball. And then he
Wow.
got into sales, and he had an injury, moved into sales insurance, and he was failing in that. And he listened one day, he's picking his stuff up out of the desk, and the CEO of the company, Farmers Insurance, and said, "All you have to do is talk to 4 people a day." And he said, "I can talk to 4 people a day." And he became one of the $1 million club guys back in the 40s and the 50s. So
Wow.
he was really good. So he's a kind of hero from that point of view.
Yeah.
And from there, I read a lot of other books and different people. But they're my, if you ask me from that point of view, that's where I look to that inspiration, not necessarily the sales figure, doing the sales and that. It's how they spoke and their attitude.
So let me ask you this. The thing about business is the stories that come out, the success stories are a lot like sport. There's kind of this rags to riches idea. What business exists in the world that you admire the most? The way they run it, the way they've risen, who they are, the integrity. Who is that business for you?
Really, uh, there's a company called Code Breakers, and they're the Sherry Tree and Esther Wildenberg. They're the founders of the personality bank personality profiling tool, right? But the reason why I admire them so much, one, Sherry came up with the concept of the personality profiling, but they make themselves available to people who are members of, who are resellers of the product, and coaches and trainers of the organization, certified coaches and trainers. But they have you can contact them directly, the CEOs of a multi-million-dollar company, and they are busy as, but they are inspirational. They really care about it, but they have high qualities, high standards, but they want people, they care about people, make people matter is their phrase. And I just find them really inspirational. If I look up, they are the people I look up to. I love going to a meeting with them, and I'm not afraid to call a spade a spade. I don't know if you had that saying
Oh
up
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yep, yeah, that's they'll call you up, and that's really good. You know, they expect you to have their standards of commitment and the way of doing things, but but they want you to make a profit. They say,
Yeah.
we want you to make money. We want to help you to do that, but they make themselves available. I can message Sherry right now, and Sherry or Esther, and they'd respond. I do admire them, and they've created a fantastic company and concept and how they're doing it.
So you have to give out a lot of good advice to your clients. What's the best advice that you've ever gotten?
Break it down into small chunks and take it. Set the goal. What is it you really want to achieve? And work to that and be consistent. Break it down into small things. It's not hard. Nothing is life threatening in business, really. I mean, there are some tragedies, but overall, you can do it one thing at a time. Focus on it, solve that problem, and make sure you understand the interlinking of things.
Yeah. So of all of the clients that you've had, what's one of your favorite success stories? One that always puts a smile on your face?
But the clients were in tears. Close the business, shut the business down. I've had enough of it. Get rid of the tax. They'd had enough of it, and we worked through. And I was listing the income and expenses up on a whiteboard, and then it still wasn't solving. And it came out they needed several $100s a week in their home budget. They weren't paying themselves. So often it happens in a business. And they were a good six-figure business. So, several six figures. And it's relatively easy to find cash flow of several $100s a week in a business like that. And we managed that within 3 weeks of regularly paying themselves. That stress went away. And by the end of 12 months, they doubled their revenue and tripled their profits. Not because of what I did. It's because they were able to focus. They had the ideas, and all I did is gave them a structure to build their ideas. And
Yeah.
they did that the next year as well.
Wow.
It's one of it just goes to show that the problem wasn't the business. The problem was that they weren't paying themselves to live at home, and that was causing the stress.
So
And
yeah, no, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, no.
Yeah. No, I am curious, hearing that success story, when you look back on your career and your life, what are you the proudest of that you've done?
Those are the stories. I've got several companies that I've worked with for quite a long time, and it's making those changes. We're seeing them. If get that aha, people say, "I get it. That's why I engage you. That's why I pay you. That's the value you bring." It's that, and you don't know when that aha is going to come.
Yeah.
It's, but it's going to come at some point because you're solving a challenge, or you're taking advantage of opportunities and giving them a structure. And that really gets me going. I live for that aha.
Yeah.
I'm
So let
sorry.
me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you, family,
Mhm.
friends, all of your clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm a fairly outgoing professional guy. A little bit hard to get to know sometimes, but really, I'm just an open person who cares, and I just want to help people. And I'm friendly. I'm approachable,
I
and a lot of
I'm curious, what's the best thing about living in Australia?
oh. I- for me, it's weather and um, the a lot of sunshine and blue skies. I mean, we see a lot of this, right?
It's beautiful.
We're out in Sydney. Yeah, and I was up on 800 miles north of here, in Brisbane, which is in what we call a state called Queensland, and that was perfect. We used to say it's beautiful one day and perfect the next, and but it's you've got all you've got all the facilities of a first world country. There's 5 million people here in Sydney, so it's a massive city.
Yeah.
And so I like all that city, but I live right on the outskirts in a place called the Blue Mountains, and I can change the background to show you that magnificence of the nature. It's right here, right next door. I live there, and there's kangaroos and koalas up the tree, and all those cute little things running around.
Yeah.
Uh, I just love that beach to the country, and it's a massive country, just like the States.
Yeah.
Massive, and so the range is so different, and I just love it. The people are relaxed. We're
Yeah.
we're pretty relaxed.
I get that. I totally get that. So Ross, if anyone wants to hire you, reach out to you, find out more about what you do, what's the best place, the best business?
LinkedIn. I'm
Okay.
on LinkedIn. There's only one person that looks like me on LinkedIn. Ross Keating, and you'll find me sitting on there easily.
Okay, excellent. Ross, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir, for your story. Thank you for your time. Send my love to Australia.
Come on down, Joe.
I
You
need
got
to.
what to do.
I need to get down under, my man. I'm all for it.
Thank you very much for having me on your show, and been fantastic to meet you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Best of luck with everything.
Okay, bye.
Take care.